All right, Lucille, can you hear me now? You can hear me? Oh, good. Lucille can hear me. We can start. Come thou long expected Jesus, born to set thy people free from our fears and sin, release us. Let us find our rest in thee. Israel's strength and consolation, hope of all the earth thou art, dear desire of every nation. Enter every longing heart. Born thy people to deliver, born a child and yet a king, born to reign in us forever. Now thy gracious kingdom bring, by thine own eternal Spirit, rule in all our hearts alone. By thine all sufficient merit, raise us to thy glorious throne. Raise us to thy glorious throne. Now, I once broke a string on this piano, so I'm going to try not to do that today. However, I believe if it's still the same piano tuner, he's the organist at the church where I am now, so I could be creating some extra work for him. So maybe I will break a string on the piano. No, I'll try not to do that. I'm going to sing some songs that I grew up with around the Christmas season, songs that you probably didn't grow up with, I'm thinking, because they're songs about summer and Christmas in the heat and all those kinds of things. And this is going to be my 19th cold Christmas, and I still haven't gotten used to it yet. But them's the breaks, I guess. But every year I think we play this one in school. I remember having to sing it in the choir at the end of the school year at the assembly, but I'll see if I can remember it some. Oh gosh, how long's it been since I was in school? 32 years ago, or something like that. You know, it's been over 9 years since I've been in this sanctuary. I should come back more often. Yeah. The north wind is tossing the leaves, the red dust is over the town, the sparrow are under the eaves, and the grass in the paddock is brown. As we lift up our voices and sing to the Christ child, our heavenly King. The north wind is tossing the leaves. The red dust is over the town. The sparrows are under the eaves, and the grass in the paddock is brown. As we lift up our voices and sing to the Christ child, our heavenly King. The tree ferns in green gullies sway. The cool stream flows silently by. The joy bells are greeting the day, and the chimes are adrift in the sky. As we lift up our voices and sing to the Christ child, the heavenly King. So a couple of days ago, my only surviving grandparent, and I feel fortunate being almost 50 to have a surviving grandparent, but she turned 95. And she's, well, some of you would remember me telling stories on my nana, but she's quite the lady. Let's just say we eventually got her just a couple of years ago one of those medallions to go around your neck that if you ever get in trouble, you push it and every man, woman and their dog comes running. And she'd never pushed it before, but we knew that if it was pushed, my sister, who at the time was the high school principal in the town where my nana lives, it would go to her first, and then it would call the police, and it would call the ambulance, and it would call the fire, and it would call just about everyone that you could imagine to come out. Well, she decided that at about the age of 93, that she was going to climb the 60-foot fig tree in the backyard and do a little pruning up in the top branches. And so she did. Well, as you can imagine, as she's clipping off the branches, she's holding them to her chest, isn't she? And what does she do accidentally? She pushes the button. And she said, the next minute, your sister's car come flying in the driveway with gravel screaming out the back, followed by the policeman, followed by the fire engine, followed by the ambulance. And she said, I couldn't get down out of the tree quick enough. So she said, I thought I'd just stay in the tree. They'd find me eventually. She said they went through the house, they came out the back and said, Mrs. Chapman, are you out here? She says, I'm up. You'll have to excuse me because I know we're in church. But she said, and I quote, I'm up the bloody tree. So, it was only a few months later that she decided, having locked herself in her back garden, and she had a 6-foot-high corrugated iron fence, that if she pushed up the green wheelie bin, trash bin, to the fence, that she could climb up on that and then leap over the 6-foot-high fence and land on her feet on the other side. I tell you, this woman smokes like a sailor, drinks like a fish. No, smokes like a chimney, drinks like a fish, and swears like a sailor. I'm not sure that they're the three things that keep her alive as she is at 95. But I do know that every time she goes to see the doctor tells her to give up the cigarettes and the booze, and she says, I'm 95 years old, I'm not giving up anything. But one thing that she does have in her garden, which she tends to every year, is something called a Christmas bush, which is more of like a shrub, a tree that grows. It's a very slow growing Australian tree, and it may get up to 8-9 feet at its highest after sort of almost a decade of growth. But the one beautiful thing about this particular tree is that at Christmas time in December is when the tree flowers. So when it starts to get really hot, the tree flowers, and it goes from being just a green shrub to being shades of pink and orange and red And all the colours you could imagine in the most beautiful sunset are represented in this particular tree, and we call it a Christmas bush because it brings out these colours that remind us of Christmas. I wish I'd written this particular song. I didn't. I've stolen it from another friend who wrote it in Australia, but it's a neat tree. By the way that you plant a Christmas bush into someone else's garden, all you need to do is cut it off with a pair of secateurs, take a twig and put it in the ground. And it will grow root systems, and then eventually in 10 years' time you'll have a Christmas bush as well. So my Nana's Christmas bush has given many Christmas bushes to the rest of the family and other people up and down the street. She remembers when that Christmas bush, planted from a cutting took, in the sunny little corner of her yard. It was touch and go for a year or two, but with love and care the bush pulled through. And every December the blossoms come to life. Oh, Christmas bush, oh, Christmas bush, your beauty lights the summer and ushers in this special time of year. Oh, Christmas bush, oh, Christmas bush, every little flower is there to tell us Christmas time is here. Well, the little bush became a tree, and they became a family. The children played beneath her in the shade. The years slipped by and they grew to learn. The children grow and seasons turn. They cut a little blossom and they wait for Christmas morn. Oh, Christmas bush, oh, Christmas bush, your beauty lights the summer and ushers in this special time of year. Oh, Christmas bush, oh, Christmas bush, every little flower is there to tell us Christmas time is here. Cicadas and a hot north breeze do bugs on the Christmas trees. Pink and orange set to burst across a sunburnt land. Oh, Christmas bush, oh, Christmas bush, your beauty lights the summer and echoes in that special time of year. Oh, Christmas bush, oh, Christmas bush, every little flower is there to tell us Christmas time is here. Is there to tell us Christmas time is here. So, lying on a bed in the hospital the other day, presented quite a theological, not problem, but a theological thought that went around and round, because I was looking up at the tree that they hang things on, the drip into you, and one of them was containing a bag of seropositive, which is my blood type, by the way, if anyone would like to give me any, which is my blood type. It was containing seropositive blood. I'd lost almost 4 pints in an internal bleed the week before last, which is why I was looking a little peaky at Bob's funeral the other day. I still haven't quite gotten it all back yet. My Laura, who turned 26 this week, I called her up and said, happy first day of your own health insurance policy. But my Laura has this idea that I should take on the qualities of the person who gave me blood. So I could be Mike, but I could be Marge from Ohio today. I'm not quite sure. But to actually watch a bag of blood drip into you, along with a bag of iron dripping into your other arm, they're about the same colour, but anyway, to watch them both was a little confronting, because blood we see as something that is messy and icky, and there are those of us that you cut yourself on the finger and you faint at the sight of a drop of blood. As a diabetic, I've probably stuck myself about 3 million times now, so blood don't worry me a bit. But watching it drip into me as a life-giving force was something that made me think of my own faith again in a very different way, of receiving something that is a life-giving gift. And it reminded me again of a song that I didn't write, but I want to sing of a song that doesn't celebrate the niceties of the birth of Christ, but instead reflects on the difficulty faced by the Holy Family. And it's called Labour of Love. I've been singing it the last 4 or 5 Christmas seasons every year in churches that I serve, and I don't know, I think this might be my favourite. I'm not big on Christmas songs. In fact, when Alberto, who I work with, stood up this morning and said, who doesn't like Christmas songs, I stood up and applauded. Right after I'd finished playing a carol for everybody to sing. But generally, I'm not a big Christmas song person. If you play me that Christmas shoes song about that woman needing that pair of red shoes to meet Jesus again tonight, I'm out of here. This one, however, this is a different kind of Christmas song. It was not a silent night. There was blood on the ground. You could hear a woman cry in the alleyway that night on the streets of David's town. And the stable was not clean, and the cobblestones were cold, and little Mary, full of grace, with the tears upon her face, had no mother's hand to hold. It was a labor of pain. It was a cold sky above. For the girl on the ground in the dark, with every beat of her beautiful heart, it was a labor of love. noble Joseph at her side. Calloused hands and weary eyes. There were no midwives to be found on the streets of David's town in the middle of the night. And so he held her and he prayed. Shafts of moonlight on her face, but the baby in her womb, he was the maker of the moon. He was the author of the faith that could make the mountains move. It was a labor of pain. It was a cold sky above. For the girl on the ground in the dark, with every beat of her beautiful heart, it was a labor of love. For little Mary, full of grace, with the tears upon her face, it was a labor of love. I'm getting to the point where I don't remember song words anymore. I used to never have anything on a piano when I would sing, and I prided myself of that. I used to have that, they were all stored in my head. My brain doesn't work like that anymore. It's like turned into Swiss cheese or something like that. I haven't sung this song this year yet, so if I don't get the high note, it's probably because I didn't wear underwear tight enough today. The stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Saviour's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angel voices, oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born, oh, night divine, oh, night. Truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. And chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we. Let all within us praise his holy name. Christ is the Lord. Oh, praise his name forever. His power and glory evermore proclaim. His power and glory evermore proclaim. Oh, night divine, oh, night, oh, holy I didn't quite hit it, but I was close. Probably don't need the words to this song, but they're there anyway, just in case I forget them. Problem is, when you sing songs that you write that other people know, then you have to get the words right. When you sing songs that you write that other people don't know, you can make them up as you go along. But my fear is that you all know the words to this song anyway, so I better sing them right how I wrote them, right? Before you spoke the word, just grace. Before my cry was heard, just grace. Before my fingers and toes and my mouth and my nose were fashioned into place, just grace, just grace. Before I learned to run, just grace. And before my songs were sung, just grace. Before I climbed my first tree, fell down on my knees, and I saw my baby boy's face, just grace. Just grace, and it's only by grace that Jesus has saved, not by the works of my hands or my best laid plans, just grace, and nothing but grace can fully erase. From my first to my last, all my life will pass through grace. Before the world began, just grace. The Father's perfect plan of grace. And you walked in my skin, embraced me within, died there in my place. Well, that's grace. Sweet grace. I've taken away now just grace, and God, I stand amazed. From the ends of the earth to the height of the sky, to the depth of my estate, just grace. Just grace, and it's only by grace that our Jesus has saved. It's not by the works of our hands or our best laid plans, just grace, and nothing but grace can fully erase. From our first to our last, our lives will pass through grace. From our first to our last, our lives will pass through grace. I was a little surprised when Bob Krause was asked, what songs do you want played at your funeral? And he said, Just Grace. But you remember that song? Really? So, for some of you that have heard it now twice in 3 days, maybe I should apologise, I don't know. So, I have a friend in Australia who encountered something unique, strange, wrong, just a couple of weeks ago. My friend's name is Jason, and Jason has been somebody that has been a friend for way too many more years than I care to remember. In my first parish as a minister in the Uniting Church of Australia, Jason was a part of that church, and he was at the time simply Constable Jason Doig. We had some things go on in that church that needed to be taken care of. One of the main things being the presence of an active pedophile at work. Jason helped us nail down that person and have them shipped off at Her Majesty's pleasure somewhere else. Good way of saying it. One night, as my family were relaxing in the parsonage, the back door exploded. It was a glass sliding door. 3 men came in and held my family hostage and beat us up pretty good. And at the time, my kids were little. I just had 2 little ones, Sam and Laura, and they ripped sheets up from underneath them, and they were hunting for something. We later found out they were hunting for drugs that had been kept on that premises. The church was renting that parsonage for a short time whilst they refitted the parsonage we were going to be moving into. Well, the first person that answered the phone when the phone call went to the police that night was Constable Jason Doig. Fast forward a couple of years, I had been at that parish, and after a couple of years, they like to move new ministers on because by that stage you've made too many mistakes, and they want to move you as far away as possible from that church so you can go and make not so many mistakes. And there was going to be like a 3-odd-week gap between us having to be out of the parsonage in Port Lincoln, where I was, and before we could move into the parsonage in Adelaide, in the city of Adelaide in South Australia. And we didn't know quite what we were going to do in that time period. And then Jason said, well, I'm on vacation, so come stay in my house. Look after my dog for me. We went, that sounds great. Whilst we were staying at Jason's house, we found out that later that year, an Oliver would be joining us. Oh, yeah. Little did we know what we were in for. By the way, in case you're wondering, Oliver is the lead cook at the Old Bakery Beer Company over in Alton. So if you want a tasty sandwich, he invented them. He and I had words after the one that he served up to me that had peppers, really hot ones, lined up along the top of the sandwich where I couldn't see them. He's 23 now, by the way. But so we found out that Oliver would be joining us. Fast forward a few more years, and by that stage we had immigrated to the United States after being in parish ministry in Adelaide and then moving to a parachurch organisation we worked for 5 years in Sydney. And then we had immigrated here to the United States. We found ourselves living in Tennessee, in the very same place, by the way, where the tornadoes touched down last night. I have a lot of friends in that area and a church in that area that I served as well when I was there. And that was where we were when Sam lost his life. And for those that don't know, Sam was my 11-year-old, my oldest child. And so when we took Sam back to Australia, Jason became a big part of that. Jason came from his little country police station in the middle of nowhere down to Adelaide, about 400-500 mile drive, to be there for us for Sam's funeral service. And then a couple of days later, because my family owned a holiday shack on the beach, you see, right near where Jason's police station was. And so we kind of hung out with Jason for a week as we stayed at my family shack, which is now being knocked down and a better thing has been built there. My uncle and aunt have retired there. But back then it was still a 4-room shack, and whilst we were there and still grieving, Jason took me out on his boat fishing. We spent some time eating with Jason. Jason loved being a country policeman. In fact, he loved it so much he's always been a country policeman. Brevet Sergeant Jason Doig is now his title and name. Brevet Sergeant is one level under a sergeant, yet he still has just a little police station in the middle of nowhere at a place called Lucindale, which is out near the South Australian Victorian border, if you ever want to get out a map and find out where that is. I'm from, and Jason is from, the state of South Australia. A couple of weeks ago, Jason was called out to a farmhouse. By the way, Jason's 53, just a couple of years older than I am, but he was called out to a farmhouse. Earlier in the day, the occupant of the house had been seen shooting his dog, and so the police had responded to that. Jason took 2 other police officers with him, a senior constable and a junior constable just out of police training academy. And they went out to visit with this person that lived in this isolated, out in the middle of nowhere farmhouse. Those 3 police officers had no idea where they were going, because as they walked into the front gate, the young man had seen them coming, and he had a hunting rifle with him. And he lined that hunting rifle up with Jason's head, and before Jason knew it, he was dead. And he racked the gun again, and he shot the senior constable that was with the group of 3 as well. He survived his wounds but is still in hospital, leaving the junior constable right out of police training academy at the age of 19, a young girl trying to pull these 2 men out of the way of this gunman's bullets. Jason is the first police officer in the state of South Australia to lose their life in a gun crime since 1985. That's a statistic for you. Here, I think we get too desensitized to it because it happens every second day. But since 1985 to 2023, no police officer had ever lost their life in a crime being committed with a gun. Police officers have lost their lives in other ways, but particularly with a gun. So Jason's life ended very quickly, and Jason didn't even know it was about to end. Now, I know that as soon as Jason's life ended, Jason found himself standing in the great cloud of witnesses, worshipping the God that he had loved his entire life. hands raised, that is, if we have these same human bodies, eyes closed, singing, worshipping in front of the throne as part of the great cloud of witnesses. But what of Jason's relatives and friends left at home? Jason had never married. He was really married to the job. But his mum is still alive, and his sister is still alive, and his brother is still alive, and his nieces and nephews are still alive. And if I look at my own life, Sam is gone, but I'm still alive, and Laura and Ollie are. And I'm sure if you look at your own life, you too feel that pain of death, even though you're alive, but you know that other person isn't. Because I think people leave holes in us that are unfillable by anything else but them. And we can't fill it up with cement, we can't fill it up with theology, we can't fill it up with anything. People leave holes in our lives that are shaped just for them, and Jason leaves a hole in mine. It takes me back to a song that I wrote one afternoon in England. I was sitting on the beach, it was raining, sitting in my car at the beach, should I say, and it was raining. I was in Torquay on the southern coast of England, and I wrote the first half, and I just kind of hit a roadblock and I didn't know where to go. And later that afternoon I found myself in Bristol sitting in the New Room, which is John Wesley's first chapel, and John Wesley's home is there as well. And as I sat in the New Room, I scribbled down the rest of this particular song. It fits with Jason's experience, it fits with my experience, I'm sure it fits with yours as well. But for what it is, we ask hard questions when we miss people. Deep the despair of the valley, waiting for light to invade. Cold is the dark of this sadness, hope that's fading away. I am to blame. I caused this pain. Whispers the voice of my darkness again. Well, if only I'd played it in safety. If only I'd prayed twice as hard. If only I'd walked in your presence. If only I'd stayed in the yard. If onlys could save me from only believing I'd caused it to rain. I would give up my living if only to see him again. So why did you hide from me, Father? Well, I thought that you had promised to stay. Did you steal the heart that you gave me? God, did you take my young boy away? For you are to blame. You caused this pain. Whispers the voice of my darkness again. Well, if only you'd kept him in safety. If only you'd looked on his smile. And if only your hand was upon him. If only you'd been here a while. If onlys could save him from only, you'd stopped all the world in its place. If only, my God, I could trust you again. So what do I do when all I can do is point with my finger of blame? Was it him? Was it you? Tell me, what did I do to cause this unbearable pain? Well, if only I'd do it all over, and if only you'd turn back the day, I'd do anything in a heartbeat, if only to hold him again. If only could help heal the lonely. If only in his place I'd stand. Oh, my Father, if only you'd help me to please understand that the curse of if only is never a part of your plan. But the curse of if only has been answered in a way that I don't think anybody could have realized how it would be answered. The Christ child born was not just God with us. Jesus was born into fragility. Jesus was born vulnerable. Jesus was born under pressure. Jesus was born with a death sentence soon placed over his head by a despotic king who wanted to rid all the boys from the land, so there was no one that could go after his throne. It wasn't a safe place for Jesus to be born in. Yet Jesus is born into that fragile nature of a baby in a manger, because Jesus is born into our own fragile nature. We represent the rickety old manger that the Christ was placed into, which suddenly was transformed from being an old animal food trough to being a carrier of the very Saviour of us and of the world. That's our answer. The fragile one is born into our fragility and holds us together. Even when we shake our head and say, but Brevet Sergeant Jason Doig really didn't do much to deserve being shot to death by an assassin. And it's really not fair that a child would be taken and killed by a horse in a strange accident in Illinois, and it's not fair that this happens or that happens or something else happens. I know last Sunday when I went to take Bob communion, Bob had to be moved a little on the bed, and he cried out in such pain, and I felt it's not fair that someone should be in that much pain. And so I think this song, although it's not included in our hymnal as a Christmas song, kind of fits and works at Christmas time, because it talks about the incarnation, the very person of Christ being born into the fragile manger, into us, so that we could be transformed into someone and something else. By the way, I used to hate this song when I grew up. I vowed that I would never allow a church to sing this when I was the pastor, because it was always sung so happily, and it's not a happy song. At least part of it's not happy. So that's why I've changed it a little bit. You probably won't hear it played on the organ anytime like this. And by the way, some of you chuckled. You already know what I'm about to play. I danced in the morning when the world was begun, and I danced in the moon and the stars and the sun, and I came down from heaven and I danced on the earth. At Bethlehem I had my birth. Dance, dance, wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said said he. I danced for the scribes and the Pharisees, but they wouldn't dance and they would not follow me. So I danced for the fishermen, for James and for John, and they came with me, and the dance went on. So dance, dance wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. I danced on the Sabbath and I cured the lame, but the holy people, they spat and said, you're just a shame. So they whipped and stripped and hung me high and left me there on a cross to die. So I danced on a Friday when the sky turned black. Oh, it's hard to dance with the devil on your back. They buried my body and they thought I'd gone. But I and the dance and I still go on. Dance, dance, wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. They cut me down and I leapt on high, for I am the life that will never, never die, and I'll live in you, come live in me, 'cause I am the Lord of the dance, said he. So dance, dance wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. Now, I have a problem. Firstly, your piano has a problem. The B flat key still sticks. But I have a problem because I'm looking at my clock. It says 2:59. I said I'd be done by 3. I know Gloria needs to get out of here. I know there's a Christmas thing coming up. But this song takes me 6 minutes to sing. So, should I just say, goodbye, good night, see you again? Or should I try and sing the 6-minute song? Shut up, Vernon. I wanted to get out of singing this as much as I can. That's why I left it until 2:59. I promised Vernon I'd try. This is the song that I have written that has the highest note that I can physically, impossibly achieve in it. So I may pitch it down a little bit when we get there. And if you see all the colour rush from my face and I fall backwards, don't worry, we'll just find Marge from Ohio and we'll ask for a little bit more of her blood. The canvas lies in stillness, just a simple timber frame, as the one who holds the brushes prepares to mix the paint. Before the artist's eyes, a vacant sheet just sits and stares, imagining the portrait that will fill its face still bare. All at once the stony silence gives forth to a simple word, as the painter takes the colors and gently starts to stir. Staring at the easel, there a color winks and grins, and as brush and paint collide, oh, the artist's hands begin. And it's 1 minute past 3, so thank you very much for having me. Goodbye. Oh, wait. Yellow for the wonder of a new life born today. Yellow for the sparkling sun to chase the night away. Yellow is the light as it splashes across the page. The painter paints in yellow and dances in the day. The painter cleans his brush a while and slowly looks away, wonders for a moment and ponders the next stage. One quick breath, a pause, and a smile passes by, and with a splash of color the canvas springs to life. Red is for the offering that is laid out by a king. Red is for the richness that has purchased everything. Red just like the drops of blood that poured out on a tree. The painter paints in red and rescues even me. The masterpiece of yellow and the richness of the red isn't nearly finished as the painter looks ahead. And while the primary colors mix together in a maze, the painter stirs again and sweeps his brush across the page. With blue, the blazing river of forgiveness washing through. Blue just like the water that is cleansing bright and new. And blue is for the healing touch of gentle falling rain. The painter paints in blue and washes out the pain. And as the paint begins to dry, the artist looks again for the masterpiece that lies before, has not yet seen its end. For there is one more layer, one more coat that does await. The painter roars in laughter and picks up his tin of paint, and he throws white across the canvas. He throws white across the floor. White that grows color as the lights of painter takes a pen and in the corner signs his name. Last verse. Yellow for the wonder of a baby born to die. Red is for the offering of one who paid the price. Blue, the river mercy